Some kefir water. Will somebody please tell me the correct pronunciation? Is it kefir water or kefir water? If you can answer that for me, I'd be really grateful. All right, whatever it is, it tastes really good. And it's fermented. Okay, so the very first dough that we've been working on from the beginning is this bread flour and pumpernickel. And it's the one that only has 150 grams of pumpernickel, so it's mostly bread flour. You can see that it's gotten quite smooth, still a little bit shiny, and I'm really making an effort to kind of show you how it moves, how it doesn't move, what it looks like, so that you know what to look for when you get to this stage. So at this stage, we put the sourdough starter in, we let it sit for 30 minutes, we put the salt in, mix that really well, let it sit for 30 minutes. Now we're ready, we're in what's called the bulk rise stage. And that can last anywhere from 4 to 6 hours. I don't think I've ever had it last 6 hours, but then again, my kitchen has cooled down since it's winter time now. So we'll see. But at this stage, you're gonna do what are called stretch and folds. And I'm gonna try to do it up here, at least the first one, so you can see it. I normally will put it on my stool here so that it's a little bit lower. It's a little bit easier for me because I'm not having to do this. And I can tell you, with all these mixing and stretch and folds, you get a really good workout on that arm. So, but I'll try to do this first one at least up here. So what I'm doing is I'm just dipping my hand in. It's room temperature, but room temperature right now is pretty cool. So I'm gonna say it's cool spring water, not tap water, because tap water has chemicals in it, including chlorine, which will affect your bread. So this is spring water. I'm gonna get my hand pretty good and wet, and then I'm gonna form my curved spatula with my fingers, and I'm gonna get right under that dough, and I'm gonna lift and fold. Then I'm gonna turn it 90 degrees. I'm gonna get right underneath it, and I'm gonna lift and fold. Get my hand wet again, 90 degrees, lift and fold. And you can see, I want you to see how it's holding that folded shape. One more time, get underneath, and my fourth and final, lift and fold. And now what I'm doing is just kind of giving a quick little scrape to put some of that dough off the sides. So 4 times, 4 turns, 4 lift and folds, and then you let it rest again. That was dough number 1. Dough number 2 was exactly the same ratios, but instead of 150 grams of pumpernickel, it was 150 grams of regular rye flour. You can see this one is a little less grainy, a little smoother, a little shinier. You can see how it moves. It's still pretty solid, for lack of a better word. Not a lot of jiggle to it. I'll even just show you, I've got my hand wet, I'll show you. Do you remember when I did that stretch earlier? It's taking a little longer for it to break, but it's still breaking. So it still has a lot of gluten development to happen. So wet my hand, form my scoop, get right underneath it, stretch and fold. Turn it 90 degrees, stretch and fold. Turn it 90 degrees. It doesn't let go, stretch and fold. And 90 degrees, stretch and fold. Now remember, this second dough that we did with the rye flour, we did that with an 80% hydration, or 800 grams of water. And so it's slack, it's a little slacker. It's gonna spread out a little more quickly, but you can still see where those folds were. I love the feel of this dough at this point. It has changed so much, and once we add that starter and we let it sit for a little bit, to me, it's almost like it comes to life. Like, now this dough is a living thing and it has a personality, and so we're kind of getting to know each other right now. But so this one's done. Before I say anything any more crazy, All right, our last one was a little bit more than half. It was 60% bread dough, then mostly pumpernickel with a little bit of spelt. So this one is definitely the thickest, the sturdiest, the most structured. Even at 80% hydration, it's still a pretty relatively dry dough. It's not very slack at all, but it does have a sheen, it does have some shine. So I'm gonna go ahead and wet my hand, make my scoop, and do my stretch and fold. 90 degrees, stretch and fold, 90 degrees, stretch and fold, and 90 degrees, stretch and fold. So you can see how much of its shape it's holding. I can turn it. Even with 80% hydration. And that's because that flour soaked up so much of that water. Kind of clean up the sides just a little. And so all of these are going to sit for another 30 minutes. This bulk rise stretch and fold phase is just a lot of starts and stops. So it's a stretch and fold every 30 minutes for the first 2 hours, and then I'll be able to let it sit for a while. All right, see you later.